Good morning, all. Welcome to Sunday morning announcements with the Jocelyn Gray avatar. If you're with us on Facebook or YouTube, please subscribe to get notifications when we have new videos. If you're with us on Zoom, drop us a hi in the chat. We'd love to say hello back. If you're with us in person, hello everybody here. And if this is your first visit, go ahead and sign the guest book either in the lobby or online at oakcliffuu.org/guest. Today, Sarah Ricke will be honoring the past and embracing the future of a sacred UU tradition, the Flower Communion. We hope you enjoy this celebration of life and of community. We hope you can stick around after the service for Talkback, where we gather in a circle and discuss the sermon and related topics. Coming up this week, every Monday, our Widening the Circle of Concern work group continues to meet on Zoom at 3 p.m. Please join us. See your e-blast or the back of your order of service for WCOC's weekly update. You'll find information on a proposed diversity, equity, and inclusion class for new and established members. The proposal will be presented at the parish meeting in May, and the workgroup wants your input. Please send feedback or questions to wcoc@oakcliffuu.org. Not receiving the e-blast? Just go to oakcliffuu.org/e-news to sign up. And watch for the official notice of the May 21st annual parish meeting. Teamwork Tuesday returns on May 2nd from 4 to 6 p.m. So far, the weather looks good for an outside workday. Next Sunday, Yolanda Graham will take the pulpit with challenging our ideas of right and wrong. And last but not least, happy member anniversary to the incomparable Barbara Fudge. 10 years this month. That's it for now. I hope you all have a great Sunday.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Cliff on this beautiful spring day, the day before Beltane, or May Day, or spring. We gather here in Sanctuary where we're free to pursue our own unique and individual spiritual growth. We welcome with acceptance and compassion. We seek to build here a community where what you believe is less important than how those beliefs inform your interaction with the world. Ours is a community that values the inherent worth and dignity of all human beings. And we welcome you this morning. If you've brought flowers for our flower ceremony today, feel free to bring them and add them to the vases up here at this time.
Repeat with me. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of love, compassion, and forgiveness.
Que esta luz que ahora encendemos nos inspire a usar nuestros dones y poderes para sanar y no para herir, para ayudar y no para impedir, para bendecir y no para maldecir, para servirte a ti, Espíritu de amor, compasión y perdón.
May the love that gives to life its beauty, the reverence that gives to life its sacredness, and the purposes that give to life its deep significance be strong within each of us and lead us into ever-deepening relationships with all of life. So mote it be.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and the rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
In our community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another, our joys and sorrows. We do this because each person in our community has value. Each person's experience matters. We share our sorrows with one another today, knowing that sorrow comes into each person's life, knowing that together we offer comfort.
When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love.
We also share our joys with one another, knowing that joy comes into all our lives, knowing that joy calls unto joy, knowing that together our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration.
In gladness hither turn
Ours is a covenantal church, Latin for come together or solemn agreement, a promise from the heart regarding a course of action between parties. The practice of promising to walk together is the core of our faith. Simply put, it is a guide for the behavior we expect of one another and of ourselves. We're bound together by the promises we make to one another. And we recite the covenant of this church written here for this congregation. We recite each worship service. So if you would stand and recite our covenant.
Because we love one another, we honor each individual's spiritual journey. We celebrate life's abundance in service to each other, our community, and the world. We connect with each other in love, respect, and acceptance. Thus do we covenant together. And now in Spanish. Porque nos amamos uno al otro. Honoramos el viaje espiritual de cada individuo. Celebramos la abundancia de la vida en el servicio a entre sí, nuestra comunidad y el mundo. Ponemos en contacto a unos con otros en el amor, respeto y acepción. Así que hacemos pacto.
Good morning. I'm so glad you've all joined us on this very special day. Today is the Unitarian Universalist tradition of the Flower Communion. It's a unique celebration to our religion, and this year marks 100 years since its creation. So before we get to all those pretty flowers, I wanted to share with you a little bit of the history. In the spring of 1942, in Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia, a man was brought before a judge accused of high treason and listening to the foreign radio. The judge eventually dismissed the charges of treason, as the evidence was largely based on the man's previous theological writings, and only ordered a year in prison for the radio charge, with the 11 months the man had already been imprisoned, counting towards his sentence. This man should have been free after only one more month. Instead, the chief Gestapo of the local Nazi forces personally overrode the court's decision and ordered the man to be sent to Dachau, the infamous concentration camp. And the Gestapo specifically ordered on the orders of deportation that the man's return was unwanted. It was effectively a death sentence. And 6 months later, in October of that year, the Unitarian Universalist minister, Northern Čapek, indeed died in the concentration camp, executed by poison gas. Because although the judge in Prague had dismissed the charges of treason, the Nazis had gone over Minister Čapek's writings, sermons, and hymns, and been alarmed. Every person, Čapek wrote, is an embodiment of God, and in every one of us, God struggles for higher expression. That's our very first principle, isn't it? The inherent worth and dignity of every person. A perfect example of UU faith, although this was before the Unitarians merged with the Universalists here in America. Still, Čapek was preaching this message, even under the Nazi regime. Worse still, Čapek wasn't just any regular minister. No. Minister Norbert Čapek was the Unitarian minister of Czechoslovakia. He was the reason the Unitarian Church even existed in the country. Norbert Čapek was born into Catholicism, which was not a surprise, considering Czechoslovakia belonged to the Roman Catholic Church at the time he was born in 1870, and well over 90% of the population then followed that religion. But the region had been straining under anti-Catholic sentiment for centuries, even predating the Protestant Reformation, with the native Hussite movement. And so by the 1800s, the late 1800s, Protestantism and Judaism had managed to secure some legal protections within the country. At the very least, they had the right to exist. And once he was an adult, Čapek converted to Protestantism, went to seminar, and became a Baptist minister for decades. His religious stance became increasingly liberal over the years, and he was influenced by and preached a social gospel, published journals, and composed hymns singing of freedom and equality. By 1910, he was already becoming more and more interested in Unitarianism and tried but failed to convince the American Unitarian Association to support him in his efforts to promote the religion within his home country of Czechoslovakia. At the onset of the First World War, his efforts gained him the ire of the government, which was increasingly leaning towards the Roman Catholic Church and considered his writings to be anti-Catholic and therefore treasonous. Warned of impending arrest ahead of time, Minister Čapek left for the United States. Still Baptist at the time, he narrowly avoided a heresy charge here in the United States with the Baptist Church, and for 3 years served as the pastor for the Slovak Baptist Church in Newark, New Jersey, where he was active in various associations working for the independence of his country. And after World War I, Czechoslovakia did indeed become independent and finally free from the control of the Roman Catholic Church. Minister Čapek was determined to return to his country and aid in its recovery. But first, there was a small spiritual detour. In 1921, Minister Čapek had officially become Unitarian and had finally managed to convince the American Unitarian Association to support him as a minister. By 1922, Čapek was back home in Czechoslovakia and had organized the Prague Congregation of Liberal Religious Fellowship, preaching to crowds so big they were soon standing room only. In 1926, his wife Maya was also ordained as a minister, and by 1930, the Unitarian Church of Slovakia was officially recognized by the government. Unfortunately, for all of this, for his sermons, for his writings and theology, for his dedication to social justice, religious tolerance, once World War II started, the Nazis considered Norbert Čapek to be too dangerous to live. And they took the first opportunity they had to ship him off to the concentration camp that he would later die in. But Minister Čapek did not let that stop him. Rising above the brutal conditions of Dachau, Minister Čapek continued to serve as a pastor to his fellow prisoners right up until his own execution. Of his death, a Catholic priest imprisoned with him said that Čapek achieved his greatest ministry there, among the despairing, who lived in the very shadow of death. Without him, we could not have endured. The Nazis destroyed all of the writings and hymns Minister Čapek created during his imprisonment that they could. Less than 10 survived and were returned home to his church in Prague. But even under the Nazi regime, before his deportment, Čapek's work was hopeful. In 1939, he had republished a book of his own titled Toward a Sunnier Shore, encouraging people not to despair, but instead to choose their own moods, direct their own feelings, and above all else, try everything with humor. He wrote, "At a time of great sadness for my nation, I hope it will spread a few rays of sun to the wounds of the heart." Minister Čapek's life work was a devotion to hope and to freedom. He saw the beauty of the world and all the people in it, and he wanted to share that vision with everyone. Of his religion, Minister Čapek wrote, "Religion can never die because human beings cannot be but religious, regardless of the form of their religion. Religion should be before all else, providing that inner harmony which is the precondition of strong character, good health, joyful moods, and a victorious creative life." And that it was his ideal that Unitarian religion in his country should mean a higher culture towards new attitudes, towards life, and practically a new human race. In short, Unitarian religion should mean that the next advanced cultural level of people, and that the Church's task should be to place truth above any tradition, spirit above any scripture, freedom above any authority, and progress above all reaction. Of all the sermons and celebrations Minister Čapek led during his life, the most popular of all is the one we're here to celebrate today, the Flower Communion. In his home church in Prague, the Flower Communion has stood the test of time. It has been celebrated every year since 1923, and that's 100 years, a full century, that we've been blessed with this beautiful tradition. And it is indeed a celebration of beauty. Minister Čapek created the Flower Communion to bridge the gap of the various religious backgrounds his followers had come from. And the Flower Communion served as a symbol of peace and brotherhood. No wars, he said, had been waged in the name of flowers, and they were all beautiful despite their appearances and their differences. How lovely the world would be if only humans could do the same. For the Flower Communion, people are invited to bring flowers, their favorites from the market, the ones grown in their gardens, even those picked from the side of the road. All were brought together in a wonderful, riotous celebration of life and beauty. The current minister of the Unitarian Church in Prague, Minister Petr Samolský, has an interesting take on the Flower Communion these days. The Flower Communion remains the Church of Prague's most popular event every year, and careful planning goes into each one. Citing a history of people choosing their favorite flowers over and over above any other, he chose to start having the children of the congregation pass out the flowers instead. You receive a flower, Minister Samolský says. You don't pick it. Just like you can't pick your fellow church members, you can't pick your fellow human beings. You can't choose the beauty that you are given in life. Seeing the beauty of what you are given, rather than just the beauty that you want. The spirit of the Flower Communion, Samolský attests, is to receive. And so we should receive the beauty in life, openly and freely as it is given to us, not simply the way that we would like it or the way that we are used to seeing it. And in the face of our current situation, this is more true than ever. If you've been following our church for a while, you know that we have been tackling white supremacy culture in a good number of our sermons. And if you joined us a few weeks ago for Ostara, you might remember that I challenged you to add more people of color to the media that you consume, in order to help you see people of color as holy and divine beings in a culture that overwhelmingly depicts our religion as white. And that racial disparity, which is absolutely not limited to religion, but spans all media consumed in our culture, from news reporters to superhero movies. And with rising conservatism and nationalist movements fanning the flames in recent years, tensions have gotten even worse. The continued attacks on the Black community, our own governor trying to pardon a convicted murderer who has been proven to have killed Black Lives Matter protesters, to the rising anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, to the attacks on the Asian American community during the COVID pandemic. We as a church, as a part of the wider UU community, as humans, need to receive and celebrate the beauty that racial and religious diversity bring to the world. And just as I challenged you at Ostara to diversify the images to place in your own life, so I am challenging you again. I challenge you to look at people of color, at people of different religions, at people from different nations, and to receive the beauty of their existence as they are. Because they are. They are beautiful. And we need to treat them as the beautiful and precious and divine people that they are. And this is the truth that Minister Chapek lived with his life, and so we should live it with ours. We all desperately need to learn how to accept the beauty of the world as it is, and the beauty of the people in it as they are, and to receive that beauty as it is given to us with open arms and joyful hearts. So as you receive a flower here today, know that we are all the flowers, beautiful and colorful, in the garden of life. Blessed be.
Here we have gathered side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek here find a kindly word. May all who speak here feel they have been heard. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Here we have gathered, called to celebrate days of our lifetime, whether small and great. We of all ages, women, children, men, infants and sages, sharing what we can. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Life has its
join me in reciting the Widening the Circle of Concern covenant. We, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Cliff, commit ourselves to the study and dismantling of racism and oppression within our congregation. We commit our congregation and ourselves to the work of anti-racism and anti-oppression. We commit ourselves to listening, to learning, and to action. When we fail, we commit ourselves to trying again and again. We covenant to begin this work and to continue until all of us can truly say that we are a beloved community of justice, equity, and compassion. Thank you.
Our widening moment today. I have a short quote from Imani Perry, whose bio I just have to read. Imani Perry is the Hughes Rogers Professor of African American Studies at Princeton University, where she's also affiliated with the programs in Gender and Sexuality Studies and Law and Public Affairs. Dr. Perry is the author of 5 books and numerous scholarly articles. Her fields of inquiry include legal history, cultural studies, literary studies, and music. She holds a PhD from Harvard in American Studies, a JD from Harvard Law School, an LLM from Georgetown University Law Center, and a BA from Yale. She's also a creative nonfiction essayist and a book reviewer. We are not defined by our education, titles, but I was pretty much blown away by this, and it made me want to read more of what she has to say. She's a native of Birmingham, Alabama, and spent most of her childhood in Massachusetts, as well as time in Chicago. She currently lives in the Philadelphia area with her 2 sons. And this quote is from a book she wrote called Breathe, a Letter to My Sons. I do not believe the acts of oppressors are my people's shame. For me, that my people became, created, and imagined from a position of unfreedom is a source of deep pride, not shame. What better evidence of human beauty and resilience could there be?
Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place that is so sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. As we pass the basket, members, if you are contributing cash towards your pledge, if you would put it in an envelope with your name on it, we'll see that it is credited. To text your donation, there's a number on your order of service. Online, there are several ways to donate, and you can see our website, oakcliffuu.org/donate, for various methods of donations.
I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy. receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy.
So as we have come into this space, this sanctuary of peace, where we come to not only create our best selves, but also to do the work of creating a beloved community. We have come together today as individuals, much like individual pieces of glass or pottery that are different shapes, different sizes, and different colors, all of which are broken with imperfect, jagged edges, but always beautiful. While our pieces may not always fit neatly together, it is within this sanctuary, guided by our principles, that we have gathered together to create a beautiful mosaic. So may the brokenness and the beauty that you find in one another, as it has created peace in this space and filled our hearts with love, so may it do so as we leave, so that we may carry it out into the world together.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón hasta que estemos juntos otra vez.
Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Sarah, for a beautiful flower ceremony. Turn and greet your neighbors, and if you can, stay with us for our talk back in the next hour.